Hi, I want to welcome you to Wellness by Design Academy. In this episode, we're going to discuss the greatest health technique and fasting your way to health. I'm going to share the various types of fasts that you can choose from and their benefits. And be sure to stick around to the end for some detailed instructions on how to perform a fast while you still eat. This is sometimes referred to as the fasting mimicking diet. In other words, how can you gain the benefits of a water fast, right? The anti-aging longevity benefits through biohacking and eating at the exact same time. And lastly, I will talk about the best supplements to enhance your experience. My name is Dr. Jon Repole. I'm a functional medicine practitioner, a self-actualization coach, author and founder of the Holistic Health Practitioner Certification Training Program. And whether you're a health seeker or a practitioner, this info will help you to catapult your self-healing and your clients' health outcomes. Let's first put this in a framework. And here at the office, I call it the healing continuum. Most patients are usually in one of these three categories. So if you think of, in the middle of this health continuum, we have what we can call stuck, right? Which is really, if you look under the hood of a person and you look at the physiological processes that are happening, it would just be repair and maintenance of tissue, right? So it's kind of one step forward, one step back. If we looked at the left side of this healing continuum, we might see something called degeneration. And if we looked under the hood, we'd see that physiologically, the cells and the tissues are degenerating. So this analogy would be 2 steps backwards and only 1 step forward, or 3 steps backwards. And this could be systemic, the whole body, or it could be localized to one area in the body. But really what the goal with fasting is to take us to the right side of this healing continuum where we see regeneration occur. And the hallmarks of regeneration is autophagy, fancy word for cleanup and getting rid of the old to prepare us for the new, which is stem cell production. So let's talk about the physiological mechanisms that occur when we fast. So let's look at water fasting, right? When we eat food, we take the food, which you could think of as a beaded necklace. Carbohydrates are broken down into a single bead called glucose, fats into fatty acids, and proteins into amino acids. So once we use up all of the food, right, the carbohydrates and all of the sugar to fuel our mitochondria, and there's no food left, the body begins to tap into stored forms of sugar called glycogen, which is found in our liver, and it's found in our muscle tissue. And the rate at which we deplete, or the reserves that we have of this stored glycogen, is different for everybody, right? It all depends on our previous diet, our activity levels. It depends on the amount of muscle we have. But within a relatively short window, say 24 hours, our glycogen reserves will be depleted. So that's the first phase. Then if you keep going on with the water fasting, the second thing that the body begins to do is to tap into fat reserves to use as fuel. And it produces what's called ketone bodies. So you may have heard of a term called ketosis. So this is the beginning process of there's no more sugar left. It's now tapping into fat reserves in order to provide the body with ample amounts of fuel. And the hallmarks at this stage, we begin to see things referred to as autophagy, a fancy word for the body is recycling and cleaning up old dead debris, right? It's like Pac-Man going around and just eating up all of the bad debris in the body. There's something called mitophagy, which is another fancy word of getting rid of bad mitochondria. This is the powerhouse of each and every cell, the ones that are that are dysfunctional. And senescent cells, which are kind of like dead zombie cells that are dysfunctional, begin to be eliminated during this process. And we can enhance this with certain nutrients, which are referred to as senolytics, which we'll talk about in a second. And then finally, we get rid of the old, right? We don't want to repair the old, but we want to get rid of it. Why? Because the next phase is stem cell production, because what we're doing is not repairing or maintaining tissue. We're actually trying to signal the body to replace old tissue with new regenerative tissue. And this process really only happens at this level during a strict water fast. So what are the different types of quote-unquote fasts? Well, we have water only, which is supervised. This would be an extended water fast, right? More than 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. We have a water fast that's unsupervised, which would be, say, 1 to 3 days. We have intermittent fasting, everything from the warrior diet, where you only eat within a 2-hour window each day, to eating within an 8-hour window or a 6-hour window. There's alternate day fasting. So those are called intermittent. They're punctuated, deliberate times when you're eating and when you're not eating, in order to give the body a break so it can regenerate, and then to supply it with nutrients for healing, right? So it goes back and forth, back and forth. And this is in stark contrast, of course, to the old paradigm of grazing. Just go ahead and graze all day long, because you never really tap in to those other processes that we just talked about, right? Autophagy, mitophagy, the clearance of senescent cells, and stem cell production. And then we have what could be referred to as low-calorie, nutrient-dense feasting or fasting, which is, using green juices as an example, that you'd only drink green juices. And this has a different benefit. Calorie content is usually, sometimes a little bit higher. And there's a different benefit from doing like a juice or a green juice cleanse, because you are taking in a lot of carbohydrates. And this is really for extreme nourishment, to the human body. And then we have low calorie, fat-based fasting mimicking diet. So you're still able to eat, however, you're still keeping the body in that process of ketosis, right? So we're still moving forward from stored glycogen depletion to autophagy, and then eventually to the stem cell, production. So let's laser focus on the last quote unquote fast, right? This low calorie, high fat fasting mimicking. So that way you can gain the benefits of a water fast, but still eat at the same time and take advantage of those remarkable processes that happen in the human body, ultimately leading to stem cell, production. So how do we perform it? Attached to this video, you'll find a link to our blog article that goes into much, much more detail. We have recipes for you, and we have links to some of the products that we would recommend to perform this type of fast. So let's give the 10,000 foot view on how to do this. There's many different ways and many different options. And with fasting, you want it to be intuitive, right? Because the best fast is going to be the one that you are capable of doing. So I'm going to list the different options you have, and then we can talk about maybe how you can use them and what a typical day might look like. So some of the options that you can choose from, let's start with liquid first, right? We have coffee, black coffee. We have tea. We have certain types of green elixirs and lattes, as well as vegetable broths. As far as, the actual food that you can choose from on this type of cleanse, it's pretty limited. Either an avocado or a handful of nuts. And then supplements, they're going to be broken down into three kind of categories, right? Pre-fast. And so we recommend products that help to stimulate NAD production. Like, this is like the battery of your cell. It's getting you energized and charged and going to allow you to go through the fast with much, much more ease. During the actual fast itself, we recommend what's called senolytics, which is just a fancy way of saying how can we take nutrients to enhance autophagy, mitophagy, and the removal of the dead senescent cells in our body. And there's much research that's been done on different nutrients that actually can create a great effect on this. So let's talk about what a typical day might look like while you're on this type of, say 3, 4, 5 day fast. So in the morning when you wake up, you can choose to have some black coffee. You can choose to have a tea or even a latte, and we give some examples, but really you can use something called golden milk with hot water. Throughout the day, you can drink and sip on the Master Cleanse recipe. And then for dinner, you can have a vegetable broth with an avocado, or you can do a vegetable broth with a handful of nuts. And in the blog, we provide you with homemade recipes, right, for these elixirs, or done for you, right, where you can go purchase them online if you just want to keep this ultra simple. And there's lots of different variations, right? Again, the best detox is the one you do. So in the afternoon, as an example, instead of drinking the Master Cleanse, if you wanted to do a green elixir recipe, this is a special green powder that you could put with water. You can do that during lunchtime. You can decide to do vegetable broth all day instead of the Master Cleanse. But the idea is, making sure that you're low calorie and then taking the supplements and making sure you can do this with ease. So just some final words, not everybody is going to go through fasting with ease, especially people who have been, grazing and eating a lot of high sugary snacks, and their body doesn't know how to tap into fat reserves when you don't eat. So you get that hangry, right? You're hungry and irritable. Some things you can do before you do, these larger fasts is, maybe the first week you do a 24-hour fast, right? You stop eating around 5 o'clock one day and you don't eat again until 5 o'clock the next day. You wait a few weeks and then you add in an extra day. Wait a month and then you add in 3-4 days, right? So you can work yourself up to it. And you can also begin to practice intermittent fasting, right? So maybe 3 to 5 days a week, you can eat within a 4 or 6 hour window. And all of this helps to prepare the body for a longer fast because you're teaching it to tap into these processes quicker and to be able to understand how to use fat reserves, for fuel. I really hope this helped you, and like I said, check out the blog article because there's lots more information in the resource section and recipes to help you succeed and to be able to do a fasting mimicking approach and gain all of the magic from doing a fast. Thanks so much for listening.